A divorce, it's almost equivalent to a war. When should a person decide on a divorce? Not able to forgive the spouse. Hello everyone, welcome back to another topic discussions. So today's topic is divorces and grey divorces. So this is my fifth topic with regard to family life and well-being. So when I completed four different topics with related to family life, I've been receiving messages from various people from various status of life, and some of them were with regard to, they were like asking me, aren't you giving an undue importance to family life? What about people who are not interested in leading family life and who have broken families and who have traumas related to families which are not very supportive? So why aren't you including those kind of topics when you are discussing family? And even divorce is an important factor, and children coming from broken families are also very important factors. Why aren't you discussing these kind of things? Or why aren't you discussing the topics which are currently so much relevant? And they had also been telling me that the technology is advancing and there are so many people who are not interested in giving so much of importance to a family structure. So all these kinds of questions had been sent to me, and I thought so it is important for me to address here, because this is the fifth episode, as I mentioned, in this series, and I thought I must admit here. So why so much of importance to family? Because as per researchers, as per people who study and do research in this specific topic related to children and family and related concepts, the primary fundamental understanding from these kind of researchers and studies is that children need a proper family setup for their growth. Okay, so that is why so much of importance is still being given to family and family life. So far, no other positive alternative has been found by the researchers or even people who are in general. So far, the community or the society or the researchers or the people who actually do research with regard to these kind of topics, or the specialists work in the children's well-being or health or areas related to these kind of topics, have not come across a healthy alternative to a family setup. So as long as we are unable to find a healthy alternative to a family setup or a healthy family setup, we have to still give a lot of importance to a healthy family setups. Okay, so that is one of the main reasons why we still insist on family life, and why there has to be a structure in for proper families, and why the significance of marriages. It's not we are taking back the modernity or the advancement in human civilization backwards, but we are looking at the best possible options for our future generations. Okay, so do not think that why so much of importance to family, why so much of importance to marriage, why so much of importance to a healthy parenthood, why so much of importance to motherhood, because that is the fundamental format which is helpful or useful so far. Okay, so far that is the best possible option for the for a healthier, brighter future generation of young children to grow up. Okay, so unless and until we find another alternative or a better option, we have to stick with whatever is provided to us, whatever is the best possible option provided to us so far. Yes, I understand there is a lot of technological advancements happening around the world. That doesn't mean that we have to let go of our family values and chasing the technological advancements and whatever the Tinder and the bubble. It's fine. Okay, you enjoy it, it's part of the life. Yes, please go ahead, whatever makes you happy, but that doesn't mean that we have to let go of all the value systems and focus on all the pleasures. Yeah, why not have the pleasures, but where do you draw the line? That is a question. Okay, anyway, these are all very personal things, so I do not want to get into there. we can find a lot of videos and discussions out there openly available across books, across videos, across the internet. So please feel free to go ahead and go through them. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as my discussions with the specialists, this is the best possible outcome for a child to grow up in, is to have a healthy family lifestyle, okay, or a healthy family's backup. Okay, that is the best possible option that we have currently. So that is one of the fundamental reasons why I'm discussing these topics. Okay, now another thing that I came across is, why aren't you discussing the negatives of families? Why aren't you discussing the issues related to families? See, all those masalas means spices, are already available in the internet. So I do not want to touch up the topics which are already there. Okay, if you want all those topics, I'm sure you can go through the internet and search and get all those details. So whatever I believe are useful and essential, and as per my perspective, that is what I'm trying to share here. Okay, so as I mentioned, whenever I do Google research, I've showed in my previous videos like what are the kind of stuff that I come across, and I'm not going to share the same thing over here because it's just a repetition and it's just a copy and paste, which I do not want to do. So I want to share something different, maybe a different perspective, maybe a perspective that is not very common, and maybe that's why some people are able to relate and many people are not able to relate. So whatever is, whether you're able to relate, whether you're not, whether you're unable to relate, please do share so I can understand where the disconnect is happening. Okay, so that's for the introduction. So let's get into the topic. See, divorces, another reason why I did not want to discuss regarding divorces is because divorces are primarily decisions made by adults. It has got nothing to do with the children. Okay, it's just I would call we have this term called collateral damage. So children have to bear the consequences of the adult decisions. So they are not responsible for adult decisions or adult life choices. So this is one of the reasons why we discuss the topics like success of a marriage, how to choose the right partner, so we can avoid putting young children in a situation where the parents are vengeful, where the parents are fighting, where the parents are going through a divorce situation, putting everybody in a very very volatile situation, a very vulnerable situation where a lot of fighting and quarreling is going on between two very important people of the children's lives. Okay, when the mother and father are going through a divorce, it's almost equivalent to a war, and a divorce is described as is equivalent to death. It's end of a relationship. So its impact, no matter how much we try to convince ourselves, the impact of end of a relationship is huge on the individual and the people who are associated in that relationships. Okay, so this is also another reason why I did not want to give a lot of importance to divorces. But when we are discussing about marriage and its success, it is essential that we discuss about divorce as well, because divorce is also an essential part of our societies and our lives nowadays. Okay, so when should a person decide on a divorce? Especially when there are children involved, the fundamental the most important thing is to make sure that the parents are able to reconcile. Okay, so any situation before couple decides to go for a divorce, any system, okay, any legal system, any therapist or the healthcare system, anybody's intention is to make sure that they reconcile rather than they go for divorce, because divorce is considered to be a last resort in any relationship. Because as I mentioned, family is the fundamental, family is the most stablest format for for the future generations. Okay, so until we get an alternative, there is no other option but to stick with it. So before anybody heads to a divorce, we try our level best to reconcile the couple, to ensure that they go forward smoothly. Now, there are so many situations where the couple are not able to forgive the spouse. right? There's so many situations. It can be relationships, it can be cheating, it can be money, it can be so many infidelity. I don't know, it can be humpty number of reasons. Okay, but for me, I would say love. Okay, I don't know, maybe I'm a cringy person or whatever, I don't know, but for me, ultimately what I believe is in love. If you love your partner, okay, then I think you do not get into other factors. It's like, I don't know if you haven't experienced it, then I don't think you will be able to get it. If you have actually fallen in a love, and if you have actually been in a healthy relationship, then you understand what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so otherwise I don't think people can actually relate. If you have love, the actual true feeling of love, then you know how much of value you give to the relationship. Then you know, like, if you want to cheat, if you want to go for other relationships, if the basics is love, if you truly love your spouse, then you give a lot of importance to your relationship more than the spouse. You give because you are safeguarding your love within yourself more than the other person. You hold so much of love for your spouse that you do not want to hurt your love within. Okay, forget about the external factors. You do not want to hurt your love within. Okay, so this is my understanding. Okay, please correct me if I'm wrong. This is just only my view. Okay, so if you truly love this person, then the forgiveness also follows. Where there is unconditional love, okay, that is a very heavy word to put on any relationship, but that's the only way to put it. Like, why the bonds between parents and children are considered to be sacred? Because it's an unconditional love. Like, the parents just forgive and forgive and forgive the children and children. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you forgive for them forever. But the parents generally, like, like whatever the children does, they're like, okay, they forgive and they teach and move on. They're not going to divorce a child, correct? The parent is never going to divorce a child. At least so far I haven't heard of such a thing happening. But yeah, relationships are becoming weaker and weaker, and we do not want to promote that kind of situation. So we still trying to emphasize on the traditional values of healthy, strong families. Okay, so that is what, when there is fundamentally a lot of love within yourself and towards your spouse, then the chances of you wanting to cut off the relationship is much lesser. And if you do not have the love, then everything and anything you are aiming to do is to cut off the relationship, no matter what happens. Even if it's a tiny reason, even if it's a major reason, you're looking forward to cut off that relationship because you do not have that love for that person. So as far as I'm concerned, divorce primarily coins down to lack of love, and marriage is sustained due to love. Okay, and it should be that way more than any other reasons. Otherwise, what happens, we'll discuss. Okay, we'll discuss throughout this video. So this is something I wanted to discuss, and I do not want to get into other factors of divorces. Like there can be abuse, there can be emotional abuse, there can be physical abuse. The law very clearly stipulates if there is abuse involved, what you have to do. And please stick to the law and do as per what the law stipulates in cases of those kind of situations. Okay, nothing, you need not listen to anybody. You have to just listen to the law and stipulate to and what the law stipulates, listen to that and execute the things what you have to execute. Okay, so that's the only thing what I want to discuss with regard to divorce, because it's very personal. It's very personal. We can never ever generalize divorces, because each individuals, each circumstances, each scenario, situations are all completely different from each other and every other person. So for me, fundamentally, it all boils down to love. If you have love, you stay in your relationship. If you run out of love, then it's your call to make a choice and make the right decision. And when you fall out of love, the first thing you have to look at is how to reconcile, and the last option you have to look at is divorce. Okay, so this is something I wanted to discuss, and now we are heading to the grey divorce part. Okay, now grey divorce, as per the studies shown, there is a huge increase in grey divorces happening across the world. It started in the Western countries, and it is definitely coming to the Eastern countries as well. Okay, so as per the studies, so whatever I'm going to discuss with regard to grey divorces, I'm going to communicate with regard to the studies conducted in the Western countries, because it hasn't become rampant in the Eastern countries, but maybe there had been a surge of silent grey divorces, or there is a rumor like that, but I'm not specifically aware because I couldn't find much studies with regard to grey divorces in the Eastern countries. So whatever I could get are with regard to the grey divorce studies and research done in the Western countries. Okay, so what they're saying is that in 1980s and all, the amount of young couple getting divorced was much higher. But nowadays, those numbers have reduced, and the couple getting divorced who are much older, who had been through 20 years of marriage, who have been 25 years of marriage, 30 years of marriage, who are in their 50s and 60s, are aiming to get divorced. Okay, that statistics has gone so high. So you can imagine how the differences has come up. Youngsters are preferring to stay in their marriages rather than to get divorced, whereas the older people are going for divorces more than the younger generation. So you can understand the switch, what is happening right now. Okay, and the researchers are saying that this increase has happened primarily because, as I discussed in my previous videos, the women empowerment has taken a huge, is playing a huge role in this kind of significant social movement, because earlier generations, the number of women educated and being independent were much lesser than the current generations, which is currently going on in the world. Okay, this I had discussed previously in one of my videos, where I said that the workforce of women is throughout the history of humankind, currently is the time where the amount of educated women are more than the amount of educated men, and more women are entering the workforce, which means they have the financial freedom to make their own choices and decisions, and they do not want to burden themselves with the additional burdening of taking care of another person or family and being controlled or whatever, I do not know. So this is considered to be one of the primary reasons that why the grey divorces are increasing, and the number of women applying for divorces have also are on the rise. So what they're saying is that the number of women applying for divorces are more than the number of men applying for divorces. Okay, so the primary reason considered to be is women are more independent financially. They are no longer dependent upon men, where they need the men to take care of them and provide them financially or socially or economically. That those stages are gone by for a huge number of women, especially in the developed countries. So they're opting to be independent rather than to be tied down by a unhealthy or unhappy marriages. Okay, and now the second reason what they are considering is the health index. Okay, the health span or the lifespan of people have gone so high. Okay, in previous generations, people health lifespan compared to the current generations was much lesser. So when you have a smaller lifespan, you are in a marriage and you're surviving, or you're happy, or you're sustaining, and you're going on. But when nowadays, when a person is hitting their 50s or 60s and they're looking at another 20 or 30 years of lifespan, and they are like asking themselves, do I want to spend another 20-30 years in an unhappy marriage? Do I want to spend another 10-20-30 years with a spouse whom are not at all happy. I would rather get a divorce and go and spend alone time or be with another person. There are people out there available, or that's what they think to themselves, that okay, I have so many other options available. Why do I want to waste my life in an unhealthy, unhappy situation? So this is considered to be another reason as to why there is an increase in the number of grey divorces happening nowadays. Okay, so this is another reason. Another very important reason being discussed for the reason of increased grey divorces is that as people grow older and they learn and grow, and nowadays, as all of you are aware, the amount of technological involvement and the learning and growth aspect of people is much more faster and expansive, or so expanded, that people are growing at a very faster pace than how it used to be. Okay, so when people are growing so much, or some individuals are learning and growing and advancing themselves so fast that they lose a common ground between their partner. Okay, so they're like, there's nothing common, or they are not unable to find a connect, and then they get secluded, or they find themselves in a lonely position. So these are all the points being discussed by the researchers who had been doing studies with regard to these topics. Okay, so they find themselves lonely and a lot of disconnection with their partner and the situations where they used to get connected. Okay, so in those kind of situations, especially after 5 years ago, there was a big lockdown all around the world, and many researchers pointed out this factor, that during the lockdown was the time so many couples had to spend time, a lot of time together. Okay, because there were situations where the couple never even had to spend some time together, and during the lockdown they spent time together, and they realized that there was nothing happening between them. There was no connection between the couple. They didn't have any common grounds, they didn't have any common values, they didn't have anything to make each other connect like how they used to connect. And a lot of divorces increased after those lockdown period, just because the couple were not able to connect when they tried to spend time together. So this was also a statement which I saw from the researchers, that after the lockdown, the number of divorces, especially in the older generation, there was a surge in the number of divorces in the older generation because of this reason as well. So these are all some of the concerns that are being discussed, and if divorces are inevitable, people have to go through it and make it amicable as possible. That is the only best thing which is good for the children. And if it is inevitable, it is inevitable. What else? I think I covered most of the points that I wanted to cover with regard to this specific topic. So just let me check. So okay, I would always vouch for marriage. I will never encourage divorces. So when I'm saying that, okay, and I know that many people are going through divorces, many people have gone through divorces, many people are planning for divorces. So what is happening is, this is also very of a statement which I must specify, or I must underline, and that is 83% of the people who get divorced marry within the next 5 years, remarry within the next 5 years. Means marry another person or get into a marriage in the next 5 years. 83% of the people. So what it is trying to say is that no matter the amount of divorces happening around the world, no matter delayed marriages, no matter the number of people who are saying things against the marriage, no matter getting failure in a marriage, or no matter having failures in any kind of marital or non-married relationships, people are still vouching for marriage. Why? Because it is still it is still a happy space, it's still a romantic space. People, you get that butterflies in your tummy when people talk about love and marriage and romance. Still all of us get that butterflies. At least I get those butterflies in my tummy when I talk about love, marriage and romance and love. And all those things, it's all part of our life, and still we feel so good to see a couple getting married, to see people preparing for marriages and all. It's such a beautiful thing to see and be a part of, and to be in a marriage. It's such a wonderful feeling, it's such a wonderful experience. So as I previously said, take a plunge to get married, and do not be scared of divorces. And so divorce is not, do not get married to get divorced. I'm sure nobody gets married to get divorced. So divorce should be the last option in any marriages, unless of course the scary stuff is going on. Then, as I mentioned, if there's scary stuff going on in any marriage, please stick to the law. Whatever the law stipulates, listen to the law and take your decisions. Nothing more than that, okay? So I hope I covered all the relevant points with regard to this topic, and I don't know how much of this is helpful. You guys should let me know how much of this was helpful and how much of this was not helpful. So I look forward to all your comments and suggestions. So thank you for your time here. Until we meet next time. Bye-bye.